Well, it looks like the bear market for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market have just ended, or have they? Or are we in for another 2 to 3 years of a crypto winter in which the price is simply in consolidation mode and doesn't really go much of anywhere? Well, in this video, we're going to look at some of the best places to look at for investment returns, not only in 2022, but in 2023 and 2024. Also going to be taking a look at altcoins and what could be some of the front runners and the top altcoins to lead the altcoin market in its next bull run. I'm also going to be taking a look at some of the macroeconomic issues that could be affecting all of this, including could there actually be an altcoin bull run without Bitcoin? And of course, looking at what some of the analysts are saying about what the collapse of FTX could be doing to the cryptocurrency market in terms of setting it back 2 to 3 years. Should we believe it, and what else should we be looking at? And if you've been watching this channel, you know I'm extremely bullish on XRP and Bitcoin, and I have some others that I'm going to talk about in terms of things you should keep an eye on for the next bull run. Hey everybody, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel, I'm covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, but I'm also covering cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all those topics interest you, make sure you go ahead, hit that subscribe button, join the Late Night Grind community, and if you would, do a couple of things I'd really appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button and watch this video all the way to the end. Those really are the two best things you can do to support a YouTube channel. So if you do that, I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys. Let's jump into it. So let's talk about altcoins. Why? Because right now, hashtag altcoins is trending on Twitter. And there is a big reason why. The technical analysis, some of the charts that are setting up right now say or point to the fact that there should be a bounce of altcoins moving to the upside in terms of its price. A lot of the charts, if you look back from 2018 up to the beginning of the 2020 Bitcoin bull run, well, the altcoin market cap has essentially been mirroring that same time frame in terms of 2018 to 2020, and right now it is at a resistance level that says altcoins should be taking off soon. So on Twitter, everybody, of course, is talking about hashtag altcoins, and if there are going to be any that absolutely explode, or if this is going to be basically a nothing burger and it's just going to continue in consolidation mode because it can't go anywhere without a major Bitcoin bull run. Now, there's a couple things that I've looked at from a technical perspective, a lot of which I've covered on XRP, but some of it also has to do with the rest of the altcoin market, which is the weekly RSI has some very big bullish divergence, which typically signals that there's going to be some movement to the upside in price, at least for the near term. Now, in my opinion, there could be a little bit of an altcoin bump, but I don't think it's going to be a huge moonfest, a huge macro run like we saw in 2020 and 2021. I think it could be very short-lived, especially considering some of the other macro factors that are going on right now, some of which are some very interesting information that I'm going to talk about later in this video. So just in case there is an altcoin bull run, what are some things that you should be looking at in terms of some indicators and some altcoins that could have the potential to have some big moves? Well, it's no secret that I would pick XRP to be one of the front runners, to be one of the big gainers if in fact there is an altcoin bull run, especially if it happens after Ripple wins versus the SEC and XRP gets its regulatory clarity, but that's another discussion. Because in my opinion, you're going to want to look at fundamentals. There's some things that you just should avoid when it comes to speculation during consolidation mode, especially after we just went through the collapse of FTX and with the far-reaching implications that it had in terms of putting a lot of entities into bankruptcy mode and into insolvency, and well, a ton of these smaller cap cryptocurrencies that are simply going to zero. There is a lot of things that you should be looking out for. So look at fundamentals. XRP, it's absolutely there. There's a few others that you might want to look at as well. But it's not just cryptocurrency altcoins that you should be looking at in terms of alternatives. All right, guys, so we already know about the power of alternative assets, more than just stocks and bonds. And now even Morgan Stanley is getting into the action. In fact, they just released a new report on alternative assets called Alternatives 2.0. They say that for the last 30 years, a portfolio that would have included alternative assets would actually have lower volatility and higher returns. Now, that report literally just came out about 2 weeks ago, so it's clear that Morgan Stanley thinks that strategy is actually very critical. Okay, but which alternatives? Well, here we can actually point to another Morgan Stanley report. This one about an alternative asset that is still seeing incredible growth even in 2022, and that is fine art. They say that even with the historic losses this year, the average piece is still selling for about 26% higher than it was last year. And not just this year. Some art indexes have actually outpaced the S&P 500 for the past 26 years, get this, by over 131%, which is why I think Masterworks is amazingly positioned, and I wanted to tell you guys about them. And I'm so happy that I partnered with them and they decided to sponsor this video because they let you invest in multi-million-dollar pieces of art without actually needing millions. Artists like Picasso and Banksy, and with amazing results. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, Masterworks sold their 8th painting, this one bringing in a net return of about 17.8%, net to its investors. In fact, it's the 7th of their 8 sales that have brought in more than 17.8% net return. As a result, Masterworks has actually had to acquire and release more art onto their platform to meet the demand. And you guessed it, there is a wait list. But you can skip it by clicking the link in the description below. So now that we've seen that it's not just the cryptocurrency world that can produce some very good returns, I do want to look at the cryptocurrency altcoins and see which ones that I would pick, and we can have a conversation about which ones you would pick on Twitter. If you want to follow me there, there's always a link in the description below. You can follow me on Twitter and we can talk about some of these altcoins. So number one, my pick would be XRP, but a few others to keep an eye on would be ones like VeChain because they do supply chain transparency. Another one would be Monero, which is a privacy coin. Or how about this? Metaverse tokens like Sandbox, or some of the metaverse tokens that are in the Metaverse Index, which is a good one to follow. Right now, it looks like the metaverse is in, well, it's bouncing along the bottoms because of what's going on in the macro sector, what's going on with Meta/Facebook and the price basically dropping as far as it has, and the rest of the outside economic factors. Metaverse tokens are looked at very, very speculatively. Yes, there are some gamblers that are going to put their money into it, but others are going to think it's more of a long-term project, and while they might buy some here and there, they're probably figuring on metaverse tokens not being worth a whole lot, for the next 5, 10, maybe even 15 years. And of course, there are the metaverse bears that think, well, the metaverse just isn't going to be what it's cracked up to be, at least not in our lifetime. But in my opinion, I still think there is a lot of value that could be there, especially over the next 3 to 5 years in the metaverse sector. So the Metaverse Index, a good one to keep an eye on. Finally, if you want to talk about some of the macroeconomic news that are affecting the cryptocurrency world, well, I just saw a headline that came out that said Russian President Vladimir Putin has now called on a blockchain-based payment system. Now, why would he do that? Well, because he's trying to get out from under the pressure of the dollar. The dollar being the reserve currency, they are not the only ones. Of course, China would love to get out from underneath the dollar. However, it looks like they're a little bit too tied in at the moment, but there are some other countries that are in agreement with Russia that say, listen, we don't want the United States dollar as our reserve currency. There's going to be another one, whether we build it ourselves or something else. However, Vladimir Putin suggesting that it should be blockchain-based is somewhat bullish for the sector, but of course, it's also very scary because some people think, well, if it's going to be used by somebody like Vladimir Putin and other countries, that it's most likely going to be controlled, much like a central bank, much like a central bank digital currency could be used as programmable money. So it's definitely one thing to keep an eye on, but if you start to see other presidents start to sway that way, well, then you can bet that probably somewhere along the way, there's going to be other advancements in payment centers and in payment methods and settlement methods that other countries are going to want to look at. Of course, everybody looks to the XRP ledger and what its capabilities are, and then they look at Ripple and what they're doing, building networks of banks all over the world involving other countries and using the XRP ledger for cross-border payments and instant settlement. It's an easy one to throw out there, but of course, there's the ones that suggest that, well, Vladimir Putin wants to build his own. Good luck with that. And then you also have guys like Robert Kiyosaki, who's basically been saying the world economic system is going to collapse. He's been saying that since about the year 2000 or so. But he says right now the world is on the biggest financial bubble it has ever seen. And he's kind of right to some degree, but I think there's other sectors that are doing it very well and will uphold it. Something like these cryptocurrency pullbacks and something like the S&P and the tech stock, the NASDAQ pullbacks, those are just kind of natural corrections that are going to happen along the way. So is he right? No, maybe not, but he's not the only one suggesting that. But if you want to go ahead and look at some of the information that I retweet and that I get involved in on Twitter, you can go and follow my account there. Some very interesting stuff going on in terms of the macro sector. And just in case you'd be wondering what a global financial collapse would look like, well, Just picture FTX and all of the entities around it now declaring bankruptcy, insolvency, or like we were finding out about BlockFi or even Solana, where according to reports brought as much as 75% of their total value locked was actually just made up and a total fraud by their developers. So, all right guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.